Worship the babe in the manger. Dawn morning's guard, the bright angels of ten. Brightest bells are the signs of the morning. Dawn on our darkness and lampless light. Star in the east, see the rise of the dawn. Night where our infant Redeemer was laid. Vainly we offer each ample oblation, vainly with gold for his favor secure. Richer by far are the heart's adoration, dearer to God are the prayers of the poor. Bright and fair are the stars of the morning, dawn on the darkness and ring of thy name. Star in the east, the rise of the dawning, light where our infant Redeemer was laid. Light where our infant Redeemer was laid. Welcome back, friends. This is pretty much the part where y'all can get your little hymn books out. We're going to try and sing along together a little bit, if y'all don't mind. And if you don't want to sing, I reckon that's all right. There's a star in the east on Christmas morn. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. It'll lead to the place where the Savior's born. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. Leave your sheep and leave your lambs. Rise up, shepherd, and follow.
Leave your ewes and leave your rams.
Rise up, shepherd, and follow. Everyone. Follow, follow. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. Follow the star of Bethlehem. Rise up, shepherd, and follow. He came upon the midnight king, that glorious song of old, when angels gathered near the earth to touch their hearts of gold. Peace on the earth, goodwill to men, from heaven's gracious King. The world in sorrow still is slain, to hear the angels sing. This is what they sang. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is Let's sing that one more time together.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round your virgin mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace.
Mighty fine, mighty fine. All right. I hope everything was good and tasty out there. Oh, I had to put that thing on again. It's cold. Chapter 3, verses 20 through 24, second of the three spirits. Waking up in the middle of a right prodigious tough snore, Scrooge had no need to be reminded that the clock was once again on the stroke of 1. Y'all read this book? He was fully prepared to receive a whole array of hobgoblins, ghosts, and whatnot, and anything from a big brown bear to a bare-bottomed baby would not have surprised him, not in the least. So, being prepared for almost anything, he was no means prepared for no thing. And so when the clock did strike 1, and no shape appeared, he was taken with a right start of the fits, folks. Now, as he sat up in bed trying to collect his thoughts, the very core and center of this bright blaze of ruddy light streamed across his quilt when the clock proclaimed the hour, and being only light, Lord, that was worse if it had been a whole room full of ghosts. Now, Scrooge, he began to suspect. There's the source, the secret of his ghostly light lay in the adjoining room from whence it seemed to shine. The moment his hand was on the door, friends, a voice called out to him by his name and said, "Come on in." It was his own room, but it had gone through this change. The walls, the ceiling, everything was so hung with living green. It looked like a flawless forest, from every part of which crisp, fresh leaves of mountain laurel, rhododendron, holly, ivy reflected back the light like so many little mirrors were scattered there. And such a mighty blaze came roaring up that fireplace like Scrooge never seen in his time or Marley's time, and many a winter season long remembered. Now, heaped up on the floor, it formed sort of like a couch. There were roast turkeys, smoked ham, fried chicken, pork, link sausages, blackberry pie, red hot goober peas, juicy muscadines, plump Georgia peaches, cherry cheeked apples, 3-layer chocolate cake and coffee and cider. And in the middle of this couch there sat this jolly, what was it? A giant! Glorious glorious to see. And he held in his hand this glowing torch, which he held up high up that its light might shed on Scrooge as he came peeping round the corner. Come on in! Come on in, horse, and know me better! I'm the ghost of Christmas present. You ain't never seen the likes of me before, have you? Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on a compulsion, and I've learned me a lesson that you're learning. Now, oh, Lord, me, you're a big one. If you got anything to teach me, you let me profit by it. Pull my finger. Just joking with you. Grab hold of my sleeve coat. Mistletoe, ivy, turkey, geese, game, poultry, sausage, fruit, cake, pies, coffee, all vanished faster than hot bacon on a plate, and they now stood on the city streets of Cherry Log, Georgia, Christmas morning. And maybe, folks, it was the pleasure that the good spirit had in showing off this power of his, or maybe it was his own hearty, generous nature and his sympathy with all the poor folks that led him straight to Scrooge's store clerk's cabin, because that's where they went. And at the threshold of the door, the spirit stopped, smiled, and blessed Robbie Craddock's cabin door with a sprinkle of his torch. Rose Miss Craddock, she was dressed out poor in a twice-turned gown, but brave in her ribbons, and she laid out the cloth. She was helped by her second eldest of her daughters. What was her name? Miss Belinda Craddock. While their eldest boy, his name was Big Pete, he plunged this fork into a big old pot of potatoes that had been knocking to be let out. Then two young varmints came tearing into the room, just shrieking and hollering, twins, both of them, and saying that they had been outside and smelt that turkey that Peter had caught and the mama had cooked and the pie, and just with visions of gravy and sugar dancing in their heads, they shouted and praised old Big Pete like he was a conquering general. Big Pete! Big Pete! Big Pete! 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 Said Mrs. Craddock, a stout descendant of the Scots-Irish. She might be small, but she was fierce. Now, what has happened to your precious father then, and your brother, little Big Tim? And where is Martha Rita? She weren't late last Christmas by half an hour. There's lucky mama, there's Martha Rita! Martha Rita! There's such a big old turkey! Pete, take that dog back in the yard and hit it over the head with a shovel. Mommy did not mean that. Oh, my dear, how late you are. Well, we had a great deal of work to do last night, and that man at the mill made us clear it all away this morning. And that dog, Mother, dragged me through half the county. I don't think it's blind one bit. Now, don't you mind. Now, come on in here now, and let's go, and you get yourself warm by the fire. No! Here's Daddy coming! Hide Martha Rita! And Martha Rita hid behind the door, and in came little Robbie the daddy. On his shoulder rode little Big Tim. He bore a little crutch, and his limbs were supported by these iron frames. Doctor come all the way up from Atlanta on the, what they call the Christmas train. This is the man that would give all these aluminum foil wrap packages to the mountain children. And that's what them braces came in that he got fitted with. Little Big Tim called them his silver wings. And then they came, oh, Merry Christmas. Oh, come here, come here. I'll give your daddy some sugar. Now, where's Martha Rita? She's not coming. What? She had to work. Not coming on Christmas. Now, Martha Rita did not like to see her daddy upset, so she came right in from the door and hugged him up tight. Then the two young Craddocks hustled little Big Tim off to the spring house. that he might watch up and get a glimpse of that turkey and the pie that Mother had just put out. Robbie came up to his wife and said, "Well, woman, you done messed this tablecloth up again. If your mother was here, she'd have a fit." "Well, how about is there any sugar left from all that cooking you did this morning? You go wash your hands, big man." "Well, how did little Tim behave?" "Oh, Lord, man, he's good as gold. Better." Honey, he starts thinking things, and what comes out of that little mouth of his? "Oh, Lord, what did he say now?" "Well, hey, I come to pick him up at the church, and Pastor Phillips waiting at the door for me. And he said he sent little Big Tim off on a chore, and if I wouldn't mind coming into his study for a moment." I said, "Oh boy, big enough." He said that he had been working that morning on sermon for Sunday and having his coffee over the desk, and he looked up, and there's our boy standing in the door looking at him like a little barred owl. You know? The preacher said, "Well, little Tim, what can I do for you this fine morning?" And our boy, without missing a lick, looked straight him in the face. He said, "Preacher, who do you say I am?" And the preacher said that after he finished mopping the coffee off of his sermon, that little Tim came right over here and he started helping him out, and he put his little hand on his forearm and he said, "Preacher, what do you think the people see in our congregation when they look at me?" And the preacher said, "Well, Tim, I think they see a fine child of God." Our boy said, "I hope they see a cripple. Because wouldn't it be nice on Christmas Day for them to remember who it was that made the lame beggars walk and the blind to see?" Because I don't have to tell you, the look at that man, his voice just trembling like a leaf, and shaking more when he said they thought their boy was growing stronger and hardier. Well, his active little crutch was heard on the floor, and back came little Big Tim with his brother and sister. Another word was spoken. Right to his little stool by the fire. Then the two young Cradocks went off with old Big Pete to fetch that turkey in, which they did like the circus was in town. Mrs. Craddock made the gravy hissing hot. Liz Belinda sweetened up the applesauce. The two Craddocks set chairs for everyone, not forgetting themselves, and mountain guard on their posts like sentries to the ruby mine, crammed spoons in their mouths lest they holler for gravy and stuffing before their time came to be helped. Pete mashed them potatoes like a young man of intent. The table was ready, and grace was set. We thank you for the food we eat. We thank you for the world so sweet. We thank you for the birds that sing. We thank you, Lord, for everything. We thank you for the food we eat. We thank you for the world so sweet. We thank you for the birds that sing. We thank you, Lord, for everything. And a hush fell over the table as Miss Craddock, looking up and down that butcher knife, prepared to plunge it into the breast. And when she did, and the long-awaited stuffing gushed out, one big holler of delight came round the table, and little Big Tim, excited and all by the sort of stuff, it started beating on the table with his knife and hollering out, "Woo-wee! There's never such a turkey cooked," said Bob. "Never such a turkey caught," said Big Pete. The size, flavor, tenderness, and cheapness were the universal themes of admiration. Everyone had enough. Well, the table was cleared, and Mrs. Craddock went off to fetch the pie and bring it in, and hope was in her heart. Oh, Lord, man. I sure hope I put enough flour and sugar in that thing. I hope it don't break apart when I cut into it. I hope some unlucky dog named Lucky didn't stick his nose in it when we were in there with that turkey. Dog, the day that little boy stops loving on you is going to be a new hook rug in the fireplace next morning. Here, you old thing. A moment later, Miss Craddock returned flushed but smiling with the pie. The smoke rise off the mountain of steam and fresh powdered sugar snow. Woo, a wonderful pie. Oh, Robbie said later, and pretty calmly too, he thought it the single greatest achievement by Miss Craddock since their marriage. Well, apples and oranges were all laid out on the table. Then the fire made up, except out popcorn set in for popping. And then the Craddock family gathered in what Robbie called his circle. That meant it was half of one. And he proposed a toast with the Craddock family glassware. There's a couple of tin mugs and an old broken custard cup without a handle, but these held a hot cider like golden goblets. Robbie proposed a toast. Come here, boy. Oh. Merry Christmas, dear hearts. God bless us. The family re-echoed. God bless every blessed last one of us, said little Big Tim last of all. And snowflakes done melted in here. Well, the Craddock family decided to do a little singing. They love to sing, and I hope that's a tradition in your home too. So we thought we'd have a little song here. This one isn't in your hymnal. It's an old song. Some of y'all might. Have y'all heard of "Away in a Manger"? All right. Well, we're gonna sing it a certain way, and me and the boys are gonna come out here. So we're gonna do what we call there in the church lining it out. So I'm gonna sing a line, and then y'all just repeat it. All right. All right. Away in a manger, no crib for a bed. Away in a manger, no crib for a bed. Y'all are mighty fine. The little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The stars in the sky looked down where he lay. The stars in the sky looked down where he lay. The little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. The little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. Mighty fine, mighty fine. All right, we're going to do this as a round now. All right, we're going to have to divide. Y'all on there. We have this section, this quintet over here. Y'all gonna be a group, and what do you say, Brother Bill? Let's just divide it right here. You folks are going to be the next group. Y'all fine people gonna sing with me over here, and you got the rest of them. All right. So Brother Van's gonna start it off, and then we're gonna kick in. Y'all just watch us and sing along, and we'll see what happens. All right. All right. Here we go. Away in a manger, a granger, a manger, a manger, Lord Jesus, Lord Jesus, Lord Jesus, the stars in the stars in the stars in the stars in the stars, Lord Jesus, Lord Jesus, Lord Jesus, Lord All right, we'll go on back. Well, Robbie was all caught up with the singing and a little bit of the drinking. He was feeling a little uncomfortable. He decided he'd make another toast and raised his glass up and he said, "A toast! A toast to Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast." Ow! Founder of the feast, indeed. I wish I had him here, said Mrs. Craddock. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast on. I hope he had a good stomach for it. Katie, it's the children. It's Christmas Day. Lord me, it ought to be Christmas Day when one has to drink a health of such a mean-hearted old odious son of a... You know he is, Robbie. No one knows it better than you. Katie, it is Christmas Day. I'm going to drink a health for your sake in the day. I ain't going to drink it for his. All right, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. He'll be happy and merry, I ain't got no doubt. That was the first of the proceedings that cast a pall over the celebrating, and it was a full 5 minutes before the merriment came back. Little Big Tim, he was the last to drink it all because he didn't care a plug nickel for that. Scrooge was the skunk of the family. Well, anyways, little Tim was all tuckered out with the celebrating, and so Bob took him beside his little stool at the fire, and he sat. Robbie held his withered little hand in his, like he loved the child, wished to keep him by his side, and dreaded that he might be taken from him. What? What's that, boy? You want a lullaby on Grandmommy's dulcimer? All right. What father could refuse? Now, the dulcimer had been a wedding gift from Robbie's mother-in-law. It was made by Mr. John Stipe in Black Mountain, North Carolina. And his mother-in-law gave that to him with the stipulation that if he turned out like some of these worthless husbands, that dulcimer would not play another note, because she would crack it over his worthless head. Still in tune. All right. What do you want to hear? What? Cradle hymn. All right. Hush, my babe, lie still and slumber. Heavenly angels guard thy head. Heavenly blessings without number, gently stealing on on thy head. Spirit, said Scrooge in a voice that he never used before, tell me if little Big Tim gonna live. I see an empty place in the poor chimney corner and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. These shadows don't get changed by the future. That little boy ain't gonna make another Christmas.
How much better art thou than the Son of God might be, when from heaven he descended and became a child like
No,
thee.
Spirit, kind Spirit, say he'll be spared. If these shadows don't get changed by the future, ain't none of my race gonna find him here. Why then, hail, you said it yourself, didn't you? If he be like to die, he better do it. One less mouth to feed. Man, if man you trying to be, you best take back them wicked words until you know what that surplus is and how much it is. If you're going to be the one to decide who shall live and who shall die, Hoss, I'm going to tell you this for nothing. It might be in the sight of heaven that you are more worthless and less fit to live than hundreds like this poor man's little boy. Soft and easy is thy cradle, coarse and hard the Savior lay, when his birthplace was a stable, and his softest bed was hay. Friends, I'm going to do a little preaching. All right? A little homily, won't take long. Now, I want you all to look down there at the Craddock family. They weren't what you and I would call handsome family. They were not well dressed. Their clothes have been mended Lord knows how many times. Their shoes be far from waterproof. And Big Pete over there, he might well have known and likely visited a pawn shop when hard times fell and medicine cost dear. Look at them. They're happy and pleased with one another and content with the time. And as they faded and looked happier yet in the bright sprinkle of the Spirit's torch, old Scrooge had his eye on them and on little Big Tim, the last of all. And without a word from the ghost, they now stood in front of a big old dark cave by a big tall mountain with the wind whipping around like a cyclone. What place is this? This here's a place where miners live who labor in the earth, but they know me. See! A light shone in the darkness. They advanced toward it and encountered a cheerful group gathered round a glowing fire. It was an old man and an old woman and their children and their children's children, and in a voice that seldom raised itself above the howling of the wind in that terrible place. That old man was singing, thank you, Scotty. He was singing A Christmas Carol. It was an old song when he was just a little boy, and from time to time, the whole family joined in. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shining on through the shadows dim, shining a light for those who long have gone, guiding the wise men on their way unto the place where Jesus lay. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shining a light for those who long have gone, guiding the wise men on their way unto the place where Jesus lay. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Shine on, Brother Napoleon. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine the Father shadows dim, got the light for those who long have gone, guide the wise men on their way unto the place where Jesus lay. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, got the light for those who long have gone, guide the wise men on their way unto the place where Jesus lay. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Oh, beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. Now, it was strange to Scrooge while listening to the singing and all that he heard a familiar laugh, and he recognized it as belonging to his nephew, and that they now stood in a bright, dry, gleaming room with the Spirit standing and smiling at his side, and he saw his nephew raise a glass and say, "Ha, ha, ha!" He said that Christmas was a humbug, and he believed it too.
More shine for him, Fred.
Bless these women. They don't do anything by halves. They're always in earnest.
I think he misses a good dinner.
I think he misses a mighty fine dinner, dearest.
Well, I'm sure he's rich. At least you always say so, Fred.
Well, what of that, honey? It does. His wealth is no use of him. He don't do any good with it. He don't make himself comfortable with it. He hasn't got the benefit of helping us with it.
patience with him?
Well, I do. And I intend to give him the same chance every year, whether he likes it or not, because I pity him. He might just rail at Christmas till the day he dies, but he can't help thinking better of it if he finds me going there year after year in good humor and saying, "Merry Christmas, Uncle Scrooge, God bless you." Now, that puts him in the frame of mind of leaving that poor store clerk of his a little more. That's something. That's something. Well, here's to that old fella anyway. How now, Uncle, you wouldn't take it from me, but you're going to have it nonetheless. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Uncle Scrooge. Long they stayed, far they went, and many homes they visited, and with each and every one, the same happy end. The Spirit stood beside the sick beds. They were comforted in foreign lands, and they felt close at home. And those who struggled and gave to them the greater hope. In poverty, it was rich. The poor house, the sick house, the workhouse, the jailhouse, the Spirit blessed them all. It was a long night. But if it were only a night, because let me tell you, the Christmas holidays, well, they seem to be condensed into the same time that Scrooge and the ghost shared together. And it was also strange, too, that while Scrooge, he remained unchanged in his outward form, the ghost, it grew older. I mean, clearly older. And Scrooge looked at it and said, Lord me, the Spirit's life so short. And that ghost looked at him and said, my time on this earth is brief. It ends tonight.
Tonight?
Yep. Midnight. Here it comes. Forgive me if I'm not justified in what I ask, but there's something strange underneath your garment. Is that a foot, Spirit, or a claw? It might well be a claw, for the flesh there's on it. Look down here. From the folds of its robe it brought forth two children, wretched, abject, hideous, miserable. They knelt at the Spirit's feet and clung to his garment. Look here, man! Look here! They were a boy, a girl, yellow, meager, where angels should have sat enthroned, devils lurked and glared out menacing. Nowhere in all the miracles of wonderful creation are there monsters half so horrid and dread. Spirit, are they yours? They are man's. They claim to me. This boy here's ignorance, the girl's want. You beware them both. But most of all, beware this boy. For upon his brow is that written, which is doom, unless the writing be erased. The Spirit, they don't have no refuge or resource. Are there no prisons? Are there no work mills? The clock struck 12. Scrooge looked him out for the ghost. He couldn't. And then he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley as the last stroke of 12 ceased to vibrate and beheld the solemn phantom draped and hooded coming across the ground like a copperhead across the lake. Staff 5, verses 3 through 10, the last of the spirits. Broad is the road that leads to death, and thousands walk together there, but wisdom shows a narrow path with here and there a traveler. Slowly, silently, gravely, the phantom approached. It was shrouded in a deep black garment. It hid its face, its features. It left nothing of it visible. I'm in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come. You go show me the shadows of things that not yet happened, but they might happen. Is that right, Spirit? Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any specter I've seen. But I know that your purpose is to do me good, and I hope to be a better man than what I was. I'm unprepared to bear your company. I do it with a grateful heart. You ain't gonna speak to me. Lead on. Lead on, Spirit. The night's waning fast. It's precious time to me. Lead on. We scarcely seemed to enter the city. It seemed like the city sprung up about them. The Spirit stopped by this small gaggle of gossips. Well, I don't know anything about it either way. All I know is that he's dead. Well, why? When did he die? Well, it was last night, I believe. Well, what was the matter with him? I thought he'd never die. Well, what do you think he's done with all that money of his? Oh, you know that he's left it with that store of his, that's what. Well, he ain't left it to me, that's all I know. Well, what I heard tell was this. But yes, Mother, what is it? I heard tell from my neighbors. He's not, that's not the one who said that my dog killed her pig, not her. She's the nice one. She's over there across the creek, and she brings me preserves sometimes. And she told me that she heard from her friend who said her sister, Ruby Jane, told that her sister, Claire Ruth, they's twins. And she said that they'd been down to talk to their man. She's got that store down inside. It's by the barber shop. Y'all been there? They got chili dogs in that place. And you know what else that they got in that store of hers? They got molasses in a can. And I said, well, I don't know what I think about that, having that molasses in a can. And she said, Mother, you are doing it again. Please get to the point. Well, pardon me. All I was saying is that she didn't think it was going to be much of a funeral, because she said, ain't nobody going to go to it. Well, I'll go. You will, Sarah Beth? I sure will. They might be serving lunch. Woo! Spirit, I see the case of this unhappy man might be my own. My life tends that way now. Merciful heaven, what's this?
Oh, death. Oh, death. Won't you spare me over for another year?
He cried out because his hand brushed across the bed, and on it Fran's plunder. Bereft, unwatched, uncared for, the body of this man. Oh, death, set up thy altar here and rest with such terrors as thou hast, cause this is thy kingdom. Spirit, show me some tenderness with the death of that dark chamber going to be forever present with me. The Spirit conducted him to poor Robbie Craddock's cabin. It's awful quiet. You can see that. You see there the two little Craddocks. They're there in a corner, still as statues. And Big Pete, he's reading to them from a book. Here's the mother, Belinda, Martha Rita. Was they sewing something? And they all are very quiet. Big Pete opened the book and read. Then
he took a little child.
He took a little child
and set him in the midst of them.
and set him in the midst of
Then he said,
Whosoever receives one of such children in my name receiveth me. And he who receiveth me receiveth not me, but my Father who art in heaven.
But my Father who art in heaven.
The mother placed her needlework on the table, and then she placed her hand to her face. The candlelight hurts my eyes. It makes them weak. I'm not going to show weak eyes to your daddy when he comes home. Not for the world. It must be near his time. It's past it, Mama. He's been walking kind of slow these days. I've known him to walk with little big Tim on his shoulder. Right fast. Your daddy loved him so. There's your daddy at the door. In came little Bob the father. His coffee was waiting for him on the stovetop. Everyone tried to help him to it most. He was cheery. He praised the speed and industry of Mrs. Craddock and the girls. They'd be done long before Sunday. Sunday? You went there, Robbie? Yep. I wish you all could have come today. It's awful green and so pretty out there. That little boy tell you it's the prettiest place in all Blue Ridge. Pete, you remember we took him out there, was it summer? And you showed him that big old cottonwood. He declared it to be the tallest and biggest tree in the whole gorge. And then you said, y'all won't climb it. I said, oh boy. We did, oh my Lord, it took us all afternoon to get that little fellow up there. We did it. And then there's like a whole family of critters sitting on that limb. He stood up there between you and me. He had his little hands on his hip. He looked. He said, "Fellas, if heaven is half as fine as this, that would be all right." My little boy. My little boy. Friends, you can see that mountain of a man just crumble. Little Big Tim, thy childish grace was from God. Spirit, something tells me our parting moment's at hand. I feel it, but I don't know how. You tell me who they was. We saw lying on that bed. Oh, is the road that leads to death, and thousands walk together there. But wisdom shows a narrow path with here and there. The ghost of Christmas yet to come conducted Scrooge to an abandoned graveyard. Here the wretched man whose name he had now to learn lay underneath the ground. There's a worthy place, run over by weeds and brambles, the growth of vegetation's death, not life, choked with so much burying. Worthy place. The spirit stopped beside one of the tombstones and pointed down toward it. Before I draw near to that stone you're pointing to, you're going to have to answer me one question. Are these the shadows of things that there will be or may be only? No. Listen. Men's courses are shadowed by sudden. As the root grows, so must the tree. But if the courses be diverted from the ends will change. You say it's so with me. Trembling, Scrooge crept toward the grave, and following his finger, read upon the unmarked, neglected grave his own name. Ebenezer Scrooge. I'm the man that lay on the bed? No! No, Spirit, I'm not the man that I was! Why you showing me this in my past? Oh! No! I'm gonna live! the past, present, future. The spirits of all three will strive in me. I'm not going to shut out the lesson, say Chico. Say that I can wipe away the writing on that stone. And holding his hands up in a last desperate plea, he saw an alteration in the spirit's garment. It shrank, collapsed, and dwindled into a bedpost. Everybody all right? Here we go. Chapter 5, verses 19 through 30. The end of it.
Morning stars are rising, bright morning stars are
I'm going to live in a past, or a present, the future. The spirits of all three are going to strive within me.
Day is a-breaking.
Oh, Jacob, Father, heaven and Christmas time be praised. Oh, yes. Well, I don't know what to do. I feel light as a feather. I'm giddy as a drunk man. I don't know how long I was with the spirits. I don't know nothing. I'm like a little baby. But I don't care. I'd rather be a little baby. He was checked in his transport's friends by the church bells, ringing out the most glorious peals he had ever heard. Glory, glory. He ran upstairs to the window, opened it, stuck out his head. No fog, no mist, cold, bright, clear, stirring, cold, calling for the blood to dance to. Golden sunlight, heavenly skies, sweet, fresh air, merry bells, glory, glory day is a-breaking in my soul. Scrooge saw a young boy heading out under his window, and he called out, "Hey! Hey! What's today?" "Today? Man, it's Christmas Day!" "It's Christmas Day. I'm not missing it. Ain't been the ghosts have done it all in one night. They can do anything they want. Of course they can. Ha, ha, ha. Hey there! Hey. Do you know the butcher that's down there by the holler? That's my daddy's store." "It is?" "Uh-huh. Do you know where they sold that Christmas ham hanging up there in the window? Not that little one, that great big one. Why, that's the one as big as me." "It is? What a fine boy. You go buy it."
You been drinking, mister?
"No, I'm sober as a sermon. You go by it and come back with your dad, and I'll give him directions on where to send it." "You come back, I'll give you a quarter." "No, come back less a minute, I'll give you a whole $1. That boy was off like a shot." Woo! I'm gonna have it delivered a whole rabbit craddock. They ain't never gonna know who said it. It's twice the size of Little Big Tim. Now, folks, the hand he wrote the address in, and the hand he shaved himself with, and the hand he dressed himself. They weren't all steady, but he managed all three somehow. Went down to wait the coming of the ham. It was a hog. That thing must have never stood on 4 legs. They just snapped like sticks. Off you go! Then old Scrooge came back, dressed himself in all his Sunday best. I love it. I'm going to live it as long as I live. That afternoon, he went out into the street, straight up, folks, I want to tell you, to the church. And right there and then he saw all the congregation gathered inside singing songs about the baby Jesus. And Scrooge walked right up to the communion table, grabbed out a big old cabbage head full of cash and slapped it into that offering plate and said, "It's to take care of a whole Christmas past, present, and future." And he shook Pastor Philip by the hand, went over, squeezed Miss Patricia at the organ, and she blew him a kiss and didn't miss a lick on them keyboards, let me tell you that. Then Scrooge turned to the congregation and he gave them the most delighted smile. And for a man so long out of practice, it was a pretty good smile, I want to tell you that. And some folks were so moved by that, they came back and said, "Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge, God bless you." And Scrooge said, years and years afterward, oh, the happy sounds to fall on his ears. Those were the happiest. Well, that afternoon, he made his way over to his nephew Fred's house. Oh, Lord, he must have crossed in front of that door at least 100 times, but he got his courage up and did it.
I'll see who it is, Freddy.
Excuse me, is your husband home? That's all right. He knows me. Freddie! It's me, your Uncle Scrooge. I come to dinner. You gonna let me in, Fred? It's a wonder he didn't take his arm off. Wonderful dinner, wonderful party, wonderful happiness. But let me tell you what, folks, it was early when he got to work the next day. He was early there. If old Scrooge could just get there first and catch old Robbie Craddock coming in late, that was the thing he had his heart set on, and he did it. 9 o'clock, no Robbie. 1:15, still no Rob. He was a full 15 minutes and a half past his time. Scrooge kept the door open so he could get a glimpse of old Robbie as he came hitting through that door like a shot straight to that stool in a jiffy, driving away with that pencil of his like a man trying to overtake 9 o'clock. "Good morning," said Scrooge in his old voice as he could ring back. "What's the meaning of this?" I'm sorry, Mr. Scrooge. I think I'm behind my time." "You is?" "Oh, Lord me, I think you is. Step this way, hoss." "Oh, Mr. Scrooge, it ain't gonna happen again. Now, I want to tell you, Mr. Scrooge, we were making merry last night, and this morning there's a ham about the size of Virginia on our front porch. I tell you what I'm gonna do, feller. I'm not gonna take this kind of thing any longer, so therefore," and he gave Bob such a dig in his ribs, it stumbled him back against the bed, "and therefore I'm gonna raise your salary." Now, Robbie had a moment, just a moment, to think about reaching behind him, grabbing that ruler, and whapping Scrooge over the head and taking him out into the street to holler for help in a straitjacket. But the earnestness in his voice could not be mistaken. "Merry Christmas, Robbie. It is a Merry Christmas. Then I have given you, my fine fellow. I am going to raise your salary, and I am going to help your struggling family. Now, come on. Woo, it's cold in here. Let's get them fires lighted up before you dot another I, Robbie Craddock." Scrooge was better than his word, folks. He did it all and much, much more. And the little Big Tim, who did not die, but he stands here in front of you all, say that Scrooge became my second daddy. That's the important part I want to share with you all tonight, is that this man became a better man, friend, than the good old town of Cherry Log or any good old town in the good old world. And there's lots of folks that had their chuckle at this change in him. And he let them laugh because he was wise enough to know that nothing ever happened on this globe for good, in which some folks did not have their chuckle at first. His own heart laughed. That was enough. He never had any more trumpet spirits. It was always said that this man knew how to keep Christmas well. And in the spirit of hope, may that be said of us, all of us. And as Tiny Tim would say, God bless every blessed last one of us. Jesus grant us all a blessing. Send it, Lord, down from above. May we all return home praising and rejoicing in His love. Farewell, brethren, farewell, sisters, till we all shall meet again. Farewell, brethren, farewell, sisters, till we all shall meet again. Merry Christmas, y'all. Tom Key, I want to hear the flip side. I think I wanted to. Would you mind coming out? Because I know you've got musical talent and skill. And where is that instrument back there? I think it's back there by the chains.
Yeah, there it is. I got it.
And it's a European instrument called the wash tub board. And we're going to give you something. We got a pick in there for her.
Mount Vernon.
All right. Come right up here. We're going to do a little shout song.
Yeah.
Hold on here. What do you say that? Children go where the day. I'm baby born. Mary and there will come. Born in Bethlehem. Children go where the day. How well I can be. I'm right here to the moment. Baby on the road. Mary and there will come. Born in Bethlehem. Children go where the day. How well I can be. Children super falling. Silence from the river. Baby on the road. Mary and there will come. Born in Bethlehem. Children go where the day. Pick it up.